I apply pain to current state? Like, what do I say at that stage?
Well, well, I guess this more of a question like how do I apply pain?
Uh, Actually, yeah, because that's also something that I was not able to do, I think, because
Mhm.
I mean, there's a lot of pain in the part four itself. Like, I'm trying to clear up the current state, but then, like, how do I apply pain on top of that pain? Is that
Pain is created by time under tension. That's how pain's created. Time under tension. So to give you some examples, um, I'm sure, and I did this a while ago, but everyone here has probably watched a sad movie that made them teary eyed or made them cry or something, right? Everyone here. Now, if you were to take that same movie and just read like the Netflix description or the cliff notes about it, would you get teary eyed or cry? Probably not. So, what is it that made you feel sad? What is it that made you cry? It was the time you spent experiencing it, thinking about it, hearing the music, seeing what's going on. It's the time that you spent. The movie doesn't start and you immediately burst into tears. You builds up over time. Something sad happens, and something sad keeps happening, and something sad keeps happening. First example. Second example. Has anyone here ever told a story? And if you never have, go do it, and you'll see. But has anyone here ever told a story about something that made them mad? And even though that thing that made you mad isn't happening right now, you telling the story, the longer you tell the story, you're going to notice. If you haven't, go do it. But you're going to notice that over time, you are actually going to start getting mad in that moment, even though the thing hasn't happened in that moment. Why is that? Because you're saying it, you're explaining it, you're thinking about it. All of these things it's the buildup of the emotion until the point where you're actually mad, and all you did was tell the story about what made you mad. Last example. I'm sure everyone here could bench press 5 to 10 pounds on a bar. Now, if I were to say do that for 10 reps as fast as you can, it would probably be pretty easy. But if I said, okay, 10 pounds on the bar, 10 reps, but every single rep needs to take 2 hours to complete. So it'll take you 20 hours in total of bench pressing 10 reps. How many people think they could do it? Probably no one or anyone here. What's the difference? It's the same weight, it's the same reps. The only thing that changed was the time under tension. So, bringing it full circle now, how do we apply pain? It's the amount of time the person spends talking about it, thinking about it, explaining it, going into the details of it. So that's why we say, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. When did you realize? How is that? What kind of toll is that taking on you? Right? When was the moment that you realized that, like we're asking these questions because if I'm if we just use if we use call an example, if I'm overweight and I want to get in shape, right? I, I might say, hey Colin, I want to get in shape. I'm gonna be like just normal emotionally. If Colin was like, okay, this is the cost to get in shape, then you know probably won't make the sale depending on how much money I have and how badly I want it at a normal state. But if Colin's asking me all these questions, I'm thinking about my overweight. I'm thinking about the repercussions. I'm thinking about it, thinking about how badly I want it. I'm thinking about all these things. I'm like, damn, I gotta get out of this situation. I gotta get in shape. I gotta, man, I have to. Right. It's the same reason why people avoid the gym is because it starts off, they think about going to the gym. Then they think about how long it would take to get to the gym. Then they think about how much other things they got to do other than the gym. Then they think about, and then they don't go to the gym because they turn themselves off. Right. So that's how you apply pain is having them spend more time talking about it, thinking about it. Right. That's like if I'm talking to someone who wants to quit their job, I say, so what's your goal or what's the problem here? Oh, I want to quit my job. Okay, cool. This is how you quit your job. There's not much pain there. But that's why I say, okay, what's the problem here? I want to quit my job. Why do you want to quit my job? My boss sucks. How does he suck? Well, he's just really condescending. In what way? Well, he always says these things to me. Jeez, what does he say? He says this, and this. Oh man, when's the last time he said that? Probably like yesterday. He said that to you yesterday. How often does he say those things? Probably like every week. every single week. How long has this been going on for? He's been saying this, I mean, probably like 3 years. So he's been saying that to you every single week for the last 3 years? Yes. Geez, that's got to take a toll on you. Yeah, man, it really does. In what way would you say? Well, I mean, now I feel this way about myself. I feel this way about myself. Oh man, tell me more about that. Well, and now you see how much pain that person will be. That person will be in the dumps by the time they've answered all those questions about the one problem. And there's so much pain there. And now by the end of that, they're like, man, I got to get out of here. I got to quit my job. And that's how you make the problem feel bigger than they thought it was. Cause like everyone comes into the call with a preconceived level of pain. And in correlation to that, a preconceived amount of value and worth they would put on the solution, which is the amount of money they would spend on it. Right. And a great salesperson will make that pain bigger, therefore increasing the amount of money or resources or time they would invest in a solution to solve that. Because they come into the call not in a ton of pain about their problem. Again, different people come into the call at different levels. Every single person that comes to you should be like, this problem is way bigger than I thought it was. Because how many people actually sat there and if they wanted to quit their job, thought about what their boss did, how often he does it, how long he's been doing it. Like they don't think about all of those questions. So you proposing those questions causes them to think in a way about the problem that they never thought about it in, which creates a bigger problem in their mind. And it's the same thing with goals. Because some people are, there's like a pulling, pushing force of running away from the problem and running towards the goal. You're either so starving that you eat anything, or you're satisfied, but a double cheeseburger with some bacon would taste really, really good. And you'd love to have that. Running towards the goal or running away from the problem or pain. So for some people, you're going to spend a lot of time just digging into the pain, which is probably your offer, Johnny, because it's about abuse. Same thing with Colin, because it's about weight loss. Unless Colin gets on with a guy who's, 10% body fat, but maybe he's preparing for a bodybuilding show. So now it's more about towards a goal, not necessarily running away from the pain. Unless he just came last in his last 5 shows. Then maybe it's more about the pain now. You know what I mean? So for each person, you're going to spend more time either talking about their goals to press on the desire, or you're going to press on pain by talking about the problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have like notes on top of notes about all these pains, and so they are really in pain. But I think my problem is that I paint them a good desired state where I paint it for them so good that I feel like they are now living in that world and their pain world. So because I paint a good desired state, and then I feel like, man, like now, how do I bring them back? You know what I mean? Then I don't want to because I would rather them.
And that's why we do both, right?
Hmm.
That's why we do both. Is we press on pain and we press on desire. Depending the amount we press on is going to depend on the person in front of us by asking the questions, right? Like if I'm talking to someone running a multi-million-dollar company, it's probably going to be more about, and they want to grow their business, it's probably going to be more about some of the goals, unless there's some huge problem in the company. It's probably going to be more about desires. You know what I mean? So for each person, you're going to dig, but you have to touch on both, because even though one's a, I mean, you can call them push or pull, whatever, but it's two forces that you can utilize that will get them all the way there to the point of, I need to buy this, I need to move forward. If you utilize both forces, you'll make a lot of sales. If you utilize one, you're playing roulette with, okay, is this person a motivated by goals, motivated by desire type of person, or is this person motivated by avoidance of pain? So that's why you want to press on both and soon start to identify, like quickly identify throughout the call what type of person they are and how much longer you need to spend time. And that's just, it comes natural as you start having these conversations and there's more questions to ask. And if I say, hey, what's your goal? And they say, oh, my goal is to not X. So like my goal is to avoid pain. I know they're a pain person, right? If I say, what's your problem? They're like, my problem is to result instead of my problem is to avoid pain. You can start to like by the questions you ask, you start to realize what kind of person they are. But that's something that just comes with time, speaking to your niche, speaking to your audience, learning more about them. And it's not like a super confusing thing that you have to think so much about. It's more so just based on how they answer your questions. You're going to keep probing, digging deeper. The way I like to imagine in my mind is we get them to state a problem, then we dig into that problem until we find the real bottom line of the problem. So if I go to the job example, the stated problem is I want to quit my job. The real probed, dug in problem is I want to quit my job because I don't like my boss because he says condescending things to me every single week for the last 3 years. That's the real problem. A lot of salespeople, what they'll do is they'll get the stated problem, then they'll move on, never getting to the real problem. And there's just not enough pain created or urgency created. And they wonder why people are not urgent. That's the one reason. But once you get the problem, then I move on to the frequency. So it's like get the problem, the frequency of that problem, and then the effect of the frequency and the problem combined. So that's why I said with the boss example, that's why I said, so I guess the problem would be condescending. The frequency would be every single week for the last XYZ amount of years. And then the effects would be, well, oh, that's got to take a toll on you in what way? Right. Well, it's infecting me in this way. It makes me feel unworthy, all of that. And then you can just move on from the pain or problem. Now, if you're asking those questions and the person's like, well, I don't know, it's not really a problem. Like, I mean, I'm fine. It's just, then you start to realize, okay, maybe this person is just more of a goals person and you're not going to maybe spend that much time there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And thank you so much for sharing that. I can ask you one last question,
Mm-hmm.
really quick.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, thank you so much. So one thing that I noticed with a lot of my callers was that so the first call that I took yesterday, she was saying, I asked her like, what motivated you to get on this call? And her response was like, oh, I don't know, you were on Instagram and then you asked me you can have a call. So it was not very motivational. She was, I don't know, maybe she wasn't that motivated. But I was just, and also when it comes to finance, she had the issue too. And then also this lady, she also had the issue. So I was just wondering, like, would you say for me to just keep at it, just keep going with the same audience, or like how many more calls would you say just to keep at it so I can, I guess, get better at sales? And or do you say, or would you say that it's a problem? Because I took like 5 calls already, and invariably,
5 calls is nowhere near enough data. 5 calls is nothing. I mean, even if if you were in the habit of closing tons of deals, you're crushing it, you're making tons of money, and then you didn't close for 5 calls, like that's normal. you know, maybe we talk about this when you're at 20, 30 calls, but you've only done 5 calls. Like that's not enough data to say like you're in the wrong niche, you're selling the wrong thing.
yeah, but the common denominator is the price when it comes to that, though. Isn't that?
But also we haven't like let's get your sales calls the way they should be. And then if that's still like again, have you done open wallet conversations with all of these people and they genuinely like cannot afford it? Then maybe. But yeah, like we just don't have enough data to make any concrete calls on that stuff, that kind of stuff. Because
So okay,
you've
so
only spoken to 5 people. Like it's just not it's not enough data to say, oh, you're in a broke niche or whatever, or the price is too high, or we don't know yet.
so
Just
I
think
know
about
that.
yeah, think about who you're targeting, right? It's like I don't know, are you targeting stay-at-home moms? Are you targeting like are most people you're talking to have jobs? Maybe look at the marketing and see the types of people you're attracting. It could be a lot of things, or it could just be like, hey, these people have the money and they're just not being truthful and upfront with me because of the way I'm conducting the sales calls. Like we would have to do a pretty deep dive to see what's going on there.
I mean, I know that I'm sure you know Hamza, right? Hamza is alcoholic recovery coach on the group in the SCB.
Hmm.
So he was dealing with a lot of these 0 to 1s, which I think you know about, right? 0 to 1s customers. And then I heard that he upgraded his ad, and now that's when he started attracting more of that,
Well,
professional
yeah, I
people
mean,
because
everyone like you help people with overcoming trauma, right?
narcissistic abuse.
There's there's a lot of people with trauma and these things that have money. You just have to put out a message that attracts them.
What do you mean by that? I put out a message that so you mean like a different ad or different post, just a post on Instagram?
Well, again, keep in mind you've only spoken to 5 people, so not enough for me to concretely say, "Hey, let's change your ad." But you have to look at your message and see if the message is something that is attractive to the people that you want to reach out to, right? So if I'm trying to, I don't know, if I'm trying to sell, like, let's say I'm telling a story in my ad and I'm talking about overcoming trauma, and I'm saying, are you the type of, have you been working too hard, working late hours, working all day, all night to avoid having to face your trauma? Like, that's a subtle way to target someone who like has a job, works a lot, so probably has some money and has trauma. You know what I mean? So like there's like subtle ways to do it in the marketing. Um does that make sense?
Yeah, I does. I don't have anything like that in my ad. I'm just like a Christian who's been through narcissistic abuse and trauma. So I'm just casting a wide net, and even my audience is actually wide. So
So
I guess
narrow it
I'll
down
just
so it speaks to a person directly, you know? Like working men trying to overcome trauma, like, you know what I mean? Like something like that, or just, yeah, just narrow it down to a niche. You don't have to say working, you don't have to say job. But again, you want to play with your messaging, split test things, and see who you're getting, and go from there. And you can do that by looking at the people that are DMing you. You don't always have to wait till the sales call. Um, but yeah, don't think that big changes need to be made after like 5 calls. You know.
quickly tie in the DM. How do I just ask them with one quick question if they qualify? Can I ask something like, do you have anywhere from 1 to 5K to invest in a coaching program before I say let's book it, or is that too
I
much?
mean, you can, you can, you'll get less calls. I think what you need is to get as many calls as possible, get really good at sales, and then you filter down from there. That's what every business does. Is it's like, let's talk to as many people as possible. Let me get good at sales, sell who I can, get great at marketing, solidify the messaging, solidify everything. And then you're like, I'm so good at sales, I'm so good at marketing. I don't need to be talking to so many people. I'm going to add some friction to my process, right? I'm going to add some friction because I've got so many. If you're getting like one DM a day and then you add friction and it goes to zero, what are we going to do? But if I'm getting like 100 DMs a day, add some friction, it drops to 50, it drops to 20. I'm fine with that. Let's go. Let's do it. Does that make sense? So like
Oh
you
yeah,
gotta
absolutely.
you gotta like make it really, really easy for people to get on the phone with you. Because let's say you add friction and you get some like great people on, but you got so much to work on sales that you don't close them anyway. Because
Mhm.
and what you want right now is you want to take so many sales calls because like sales is a sport. People will say it's theory, people say it's study, it's a sport. You're only gonna get good through repetition. You can learn all the lines, you can learn all this, but if you're not saying it in a natural way, you're not going to be good, right? You can learn how to 360 dunk, but you can't just watch a video, watch a mechanics of, okay, this is how you 360 dunk. You put the ball here, you spin around, and then go in a game and just start doing it. The only way you're going to do it in a game is if you do it over and over and over. You practice it, you do mock calls, you do real calls, you do it. Now, doing a 360 dunk is just muscle memory for you. It's easy. I can just do it. Same thing with like the pitch. I just told you, or I just told you on this call how to transition into your pitch. You're not gonna go on your very next call and do it perfectly the way I said it, unless You listen back to this call and you say it in the mirror. You get on someone with the community and you start mock calls and you say it over and over and over and over and over again. And then your next sales call, it's just smooth. Because like you gotta get the reps in. So by adding friction now, you're giving yourself less reps, which is just not going to be beneficial.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your advice. Thank you.
No problem. I'll end it there for today. I know there's only like a couple
Is
people left.
there, I know you always have this recorded, but is there a way you can send me the recording? I never listened to any recordings wherever, but I feel like this call was so good. I want to go back to a couple things that you said and just like re-listen to it because this call was really, really good.
I will do that. Let me hit end right here. Copy share link. I'm going to put it in the folder inside of CB, but I'll drop the link right now in the chat. So once it's
Perfect.
done processing, you'll have it automatically. There you
Perfect.
go.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Ty. It's really been amazing learning from you.
No problem. You have a good rest of your day. Talk to you guys
Thanks.
next week.
Bye.
See ya.